What are your thoughts today, Anthony, on the 3-0 loss?
Yeah, well, obviously disappointing to concede 3 goals in the second half. I thought they were quite sloppy goals as well from our point of view. One from a set play, one from a cross in the box that we dealt with fairly well throughout the game. They're obviously a big physical side, but it was just probably looked a little bit like a step too far. I thought they were a good side, by the way, Swindon, and one that'll be there or thereabouts. I think after the game Tuesday night, which maybe took a little bit more out of us than what we thought, yeah, it was disappointing because we played quite well, I thought, up until half time, and then obviously we had a golden chance in the second half right at the start, which I think would be harder to miss than score, unfortunately, and sometimes that can change games. I think if that was a league game, you'd want to make sure that you'd be scoring those and not conceding up the other end. It sounds quite obvious, but it's I think we need to be more clinical in both boxes today. So it was disappointing to concede, seeing that so many goals, seeing that we've been quite solid, especially at home.
And yet, as you say, lots of encouragement really from the first half performance particularly. There seemed to be more of a pattern to our play. We seemed to move the ball quicker, and passing was crisper as well. Yeah,
I think that if you have a look against 2 League 2 sides that'll be up there in their league, expecting to make those playoffs, in 1.5, probably 1.5 halves of those games, we've done really well. But apart from that, in the second half, it was just a little bit too much for us. So yeah, I thought there are definitely positives to take from it, but we need to be a bit more clinical, obviously, up in the final third. We want to add probably one or two to that sort of area later in the week. We've been trying hard to get them in for this week, but unfortunately we haven't been able to. So yeah, we'll look to address that on and off the pitch, up in that area of the pitch.
And when you look at the pre-season match as a whole, are you broadly satisfied with the way the team have performed? Is perhaps a lack of goals a little bit of a concern?
Well, I mean, yeah, until sort of the last 2 home games, we'd scored quite freely and created a lot of chances. I think we'd had a lot of half chances in the last 2 games. Like I said, though, they're 2 good teams, and 2 good teams that would defend well in that league too, and it was a good challenge and test for us. So I think we just need to make sure we're clinical up in that area, not just with our final finishing, but our forward running, our final ball, final pass, things like that, which we'll be working on moving forward leading up to the first game. I think it's really important that you take those chances when they do come, but yeah, we'd like to create a few more, especially in wide areas with a few more crosses into the box.
And how are things on the injury front? No Jason Banton today, no Joe Ward, no Kane Ferdinand.
Yeah, we've just had sort of 1 or 2 little niggly injuries that are coming back. So Kane Ferdinand, we hope, will be back next week. Ready for Saturday. Jordan Winter come back today, which was good. Joe Ward just had a little bit of a tight back that we wanted to rest today in the hope that he'll be ready for next week. We didn't feel like we need to risk him today. And Jason Banton's, yeah, been training and doing little bits and pieces in training, but probably taking a little bit longer than what we would have thought. We'd like to have drip fed him into some of these pre-season games already, but we want to make sure with him coming into the pre-season he didn't go too hard too early and injure himself further. So we had to be careful of that, and we'll make sure he's ready before he can come back in.
And the wretched armband question, I noticed Richard Orlu had it today. Does that mean you've decided?
Yeah, he did have it today. I think Joey's had it a couple of times, Richard's had it, and also Ches. We'll make a decision on that in the week as staff and go from there. But I think, like I've said before, I think probably a little bit bigger deals made of the armband. I mean, I think Josh Staunton today as well led the team really well with vocal, and same with Nathan Baxter. And I think there needs to be leaders out there on the team, regardless of whether you've got the armband or not.
And with a week to go, do you feel you're nearly ready?
Yeah, I think we are. I think that we've got a week where we can prepare physically for the game as well, 3 or 4 training sessions, which will be good. Tactically, we'll be able to do a bit more work this week and get the injured players back in and really concentrate on that Gateshead game and really plan and prep a bit more for the opposition as well, something that we haven't done as much pre-season, obviously, because the focus is more on the physical side and getting the team to play the way you want. But now we can obviously prep and get the information from Gateshead and make sure we're prepared for that game.
And finally, you mentioned earlier that you're looking perhaps to fetch in a couple of players. Are you hopeful that we might see some new faces?
Yeah, we'd like to. Yeah, we'd like to think so. We don't need too many, but just 1 or 2, possibly to come in at the start or middle of next week, and hopefully before Saturday. Yeah, we're working hard on that.
Lovely. Thank you very much for your time, Anthony. Cheers.